Howdy, folks. Back with another episode of Reseller Niche Podcast. How's it going over there, Russ?
It's going good, Mo. How are things for you today?
It's not as sunny, but it's still nice and warm, so that's good. So I think what we were going to talk about today was kind of how we should pivot and how to pivot to keep up with the changes in eBay and Amazon and other reselling platforms. So what I was thinking about was
what kind of
I'll go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Mo. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of a jump, but what was your thinking on that? You were kind of telling me pre-show, but I said, man, just say that, because tell me how you came up with this topic, because it's a great topic.
I listen to a lot of podcasts. I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and I've seen a ton of people that have been going to conferences in the last 6 months. Two that stood out for this topic were obviously eBay Open that just passed a couple weeks back. And then there was an Amazon, I think it was called Amazon Boost. And there was 6 months ago or so, there was an Amazon Women's Conference as well, which I believe Amazon, this is the first time they've kind of stretched their hands out a little bit to third-party sellers, which is interesting and kind of telling a little bit too. So I think what's happening is that both of these, behemoths are kind of defining a little bit more about what they want. From what I can see, just from listing on eBay and from listening to people that I got back from eBay Open, eBay is just kind of refining. They aren't really changing much, but they really want sellers to define, to refine, to really be accurate with their listings. So eBay Open's been going on, I don't know how many years, but it's a good couple of years now. It was pretty big from what I saw. And like the app, if you've listed anything the last week or so, you've seen there's tweaks there. There's a little bit of differences. Like they're offering details. Like I listed, I think it was like a G.I. Joe, and then I didn't have certain words, like I think it was like a beige jacket or something like that, and it listed that in the details for me. It's offering that up, which is, they're not 100% accurate all the time, but it shows that eBay is really looking for those details. Like last year, they wanted UPCs.
Have you ever used like the Let Go or Offer Up? I think it's Offer Up that will actually pick up. Like you take a picture of something and it say red polo shirt or a red shirt.
Okay.
So they're they've used that idea, but man, that one of the things just on that, adding that description, that saves us some time right there.
It does. I mean, I appreciate that they're doing it. It's not 100%. So if anybody is just kind of, because I know they have an accept all button at the top, I wouldn't accept all unless all the items, because I've had it where it picked like 4 or 5 items when I had a shorter title, and 2 of them were wrong. So pick the ones that are correct. If it's accept all, that's great. Awesome. Go for it. But I wouldn't just click, because
because they'll get you. That's where
exactly.
If you have it in the item description or item details, you've got it listed wrong. They can get you on the inaccurate listing.
So, Oh yeah. And then I guess with Amazon, they started to have conferences for third-party sellers, which I don't think they did before. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure all the conferences before were for maybe brand owners, wholesalers, something like that. But from the few people that I heard that went to that, they are kind of hinting that, we want to be really open with you, but we kind of want you to go towards private label or wholesale. That's what the gist I got. I wasn't there. I don't know. I didn't speak to these people, but it sounds like they definitely want third-party sellers, but they want them to kind of do what they want to do. And it's kind of the same way Amazon always works. They don't come out and say anything. They're kind of cagey. Like they'll tell you a little bit and you kind of figure it out. And then eventually maybe they'll roll out with rules.
That's a nice word of saying cage for cage. Cagey. That's a real nice word. That's like when you get that email and says, "Oh, by the way, we're now gating your yeah, where you have thousands of dollars of inventory, and welcome to the club.
Yep.
So yeah, cagey.
Yes.
Let,
Yes.
let's just be all out of them right there. They can be a bully.
I mean, they're the biggest
yeah.
boys in the block right now, and they show it. And yeah,
and again, like our last episode on reselling being a scam, it's perception. And
yes,
as a third party reseller, Amazon can be a bully.
yes,
but they're going in the right direction for them.
Yeah.
And we, how are we? Me and you are sitting in our home offices. How are we going to call them up and say, "Hey, we're not liking this"?
I can call Bezos on my. Let me speed dial Bezos really fast. Oh wait.
Right. Exactly. So we got it. We have to change, and we have to accept the changes and go from there.
Exactly. And I think that, I mean, the point of the show is how we should pivot. That's kind of what, I mean, what I've noticed with eBay and Amazon they're the two biggest reselling sites, and they're probably the two that get the most, flack from all of us, myself included. And, oh, they shouldn't be doing that, or why are they doing this and all that. But to be honest, I think they kind of, they're cautiously optimistic from what they're doing now, but they want to do it their own way. And I think if we were to kind of break it down into, let's say, the last 10 years or so, I want to say 10 years ago, I would say Amazon wasn't as big as eBay in terms of reselling as they are now.
Right.
But I mean, from reading, if you were to go back 10 years and read the eBay forums, that's kind of when I think that was around the time they increased their rates, and that which coincided with, the economic downturn, actually. So all of that kind of happened in a short period of time. And then Amazon was kind of waiting in the wings, and they, slowly developed, brought out FBA. I think that was 2008. I could be wrong, something like that. So all of these things are done years, and I think they plan these things years in advance. So, I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Even go back further, Mo. I just was sitting here thinking, eBay and Amazon have been around for 20 years now.
Yeah.
And they are considered a tech company.
Yeah.
That's what Amazon, a little bit different because they do have product, or they do warehouse product now, but they started out, they're a tech company.
Yes.
That started 20 years ago. Name me a couple other tech companies that started 20 years ago that are still around.
I mean, I can, I mean, probably most of the tech companies I would name would be around probably 50 years before that, like, like the IBMs. But I can name you a few that are defunct now. Hello?
Right. Who's had the staying power? So how they stay around? They changed and they pivot. How do we, it touches on us. How do we do that? If you look at, and just in the past couple of years, you mentioned eBay doing the UPC code for new products. Yeah. We still have an out for that it says it's not apply.
Yes.
They're making it more searchable and more like that. So we have to adapt.
Yeah.
And you like I said, go back 10 years ago and look at people. Humans change, but change is inevitable.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're talking about not adapting,
it's one of those.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're talking about not adapting, I think, and your tech companies, the ones I think of pops up in my head, they're still around technically, I think, but AOL, they were huge up until, I don't know, the late 90s.
AOL stock was, 200, 300, 400, 500, or I think it went like 350 or something like that.
It was ridiculously high.
Still around now, but they're irrelevant.
Yeah. And then I think because of them, they similar to Blockbuster, didn't want to evolve. AOL didn't want to open up to everybody else. And then, not everyone wants to be in a closed circuit. And then Blockbuster, obviously, Netflix and
Right.
other people came along. So, I mean,
And Netflix did not start out streaming
no,
movies and making TV shows.
No, I had a plan. I remember one of my first apartments, we had a plan. We would physically go out and we would get one in the mail or two in the mail, two DVDs in the mail. And then you go back and then you could go to the, I think you just mail them in. And so it's like you get one and you mail one in and you keep doing it that way. And then Blockbuster tried to compete with that. They tried to do a thing where, and we did both of them because we used to watch a lot of movies.
Right.
I think they would do a thing where, like, if you come in and you could take the DVD out and then you come back and you can replace it, and you played like a monthly thing. You did that. But I mean, yeah.
Through the mail. Netflix used the mail service.
Yeah.
So, I think a lot of people are, had kind of forgotten that about Netflix and stuff. So you take that and you learn from those pivots and realize you have to change with them and you've got to accept it.
Oh, yeah.
A collective, the reseller community on eBay is huge.
Yes.
But individual, we're small.
Oh, yeah.
So,
we're a very tiny segment of the bigger e-commerce,
right.
I guess, population.
Right. So, do we sit there and complain about it? Yeah, we do. Should we? No.
Not if you want to move forward. I mean, I think with Amazon, they seem to be a very forward-thinking company more than most. And I think in the last year or two, with Jet.com, with Walmart.com really pushing, I think they've really kind of upped their game. Not that they don't always anyway, but they really want to be the guys. They don't want to be the next Kmart, the next Blockbuster, the next AOL. They want to be ahead. So, I mean, I could see Amazon, buying a Target, buying something like that to kind of be in both places, kind of like Walmart is, because that's what I think they look at Walmart and they say they have these giant stores,
right.
and Walmart's moving online, and Amazon has warehouses, but other than, I guess, Whole Foods, if that goes through 100%. So, I mean, my point to that was they're pivoting in 50 different directions at the same time.
They could cut out, think about what Amazon could do. They could start picking up the phone.
Yeah.
And cutting out every small reseller that doesn't do that any new product.
Yes.
All they got to do is pick up the phone, call. They've already done it with Nike.
Yeah.
So they're going to call Sony. Hey, we're direct through you guys now.
Yeah.
We're going to be your direct. So they could cut out every new product reseller on Amazon. All retail arbitrage could be cut out in an instant.
Yep. And I think what you're going to see is, I mean, brand is, everyone talks about brand, especially if you're in private label, brand is everything now. So I think what's happening is now, obviously, you've got, like, I think the first big one was Birkenstocks. Is it Birkenstocks? I think so. That they complained to Amazon, or they I don't know. And then I think Apple even maybe tried to sue Amazon or something like that. But you're going to see more and more of these brands and Amazon having similar deals like Nike does, exclusivity. And it's obviously a shift towards third-party sellers either being an old school regular wholesaler. We've kind of forgotten about those guys. There were wholesalers before the internet.
Right.
We used to have, I mean, when I did mailboxes before, we used to have multiple of these guys, and they would, they basically would do the same thing we do right now, but they did it over the phone. They did it face to face. And I remember there was a guy,
right.
There's Ranch 99 it's kind of an Asian Chinese grocery store in our area. They would supply all the, like, beauty products to them, I think. And he would, where there was a guy that would come in and would complain about it. Oh, they're doing this. They're lowering my prices again. They're asking for discounts and this and that. So this has been around for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a new model.
No, not at all.
What makes it new is that people like you and I can go out and find some stuff and put it out there. We couldn't before. We would have to become a wholesaler or get the peddler's license, right? So
you remember what the size of a phone book used to look like?
Oh yeah.
I mean, they used to have commercials where people would rip phone books in half. And, it'd be like a big deal. Oh, wow, you can rip a phone book in half, something like that. Now I can rip a phone book in half. I mean,
yeah, it doesn't take much now. Because
not at all. And then, because I remember phone books, that's funny. I'm segueing a little bit or going off subject a little. But I remember, this is probably 2002, 2003, something like that. When you're with a franchise, one of the first people they set you up with, other than their vendors, is the Yellow Pages. And you have a Yellow rep that would walk in. They would sometimes have multiple assistants with them. They'd have their whole plan. You're going to get this size, this, and then you're going to pay this a month. And then it would break down. And it was the second most expensive thing, other than your rent, was your Yellow Page ad.
And it was a must.
Yeah, it was a must. It was built into our contract that we had to have one.
Right.
So, I mean, and imagine, move forward now it's yp.com. And it's, I can't remember what a Yellow Page looked like. I don't know if we even have one, like a physical one. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I don't even think, the phone company is not putting out, it's all privatized now.
Yep.
Because you used to get the phone book from the phone company.
Yep.
And then the Yellow Pages were the advertising part of it. Right. All right. Yeah. Again, so what did those people do that's where they made their living at?
Yeah, those people, that's really tough. If you worked for the Yellow Pages and your job was not, I mean, I'm sure, 2003, I'm sure they still had yp.com, but it wasn't their big thing. The guys that went, door to door like this guy did in a nice suit with an assistant, those guys don't exist anymore unless they're going maybe to like a big tech company or something like that. But like walking door to door. No.
They're not making $100,000 selling Yellow Pages ad anymore.
No.
It's just right there.
And
so they pivoted.
Oh, yeah. And the funny thing was they would use those guys as an example. And they would say, look how these guys come in. Look how they act. We want you as franchisees to go out and sell your services to other vendors that way. Like, dress up and, obviously wear your logoed shirt and everything like that. Go out there. And they would actually want us to go out and do demonstrations on how to pack stuff and have like a little box like we're carrying around with us. So,
wow.
Yeah, we don't really do that anymore. I was horrible at it, but I mean,
of course, I'm old school, so there's nothing more effective and more personal enjoyment out of anything more than door to door. Believe it or not, I just think that's.
I think effective. I agree with you halfway there. Effective, yes. If you can go door to door, you meet someone, shake their hand, and get to the the owner, manager, CEO, whatever. That's going to be killer in these days because nobody does that now.
Nobody does it. No. I think Chris Green is the one that says nobody calls him. Yep. Everybody wants to text. Right.
Puts his phone number out there. Nobody calls it. But but at the same time, you do have, pivoting in the sense that let's just say you have a private label product or you're trying to sell something online on eBay or something like that. Yeah, going door to door is not going to work for that. But in terms of like if you had a bigger business, yeah, it would be, that actually just the fact that you're able to go and clearly and concisely get your message across to somebody and them understand you and kind of maybe even take you on, that's huge.
Well, look at just coming up on private label. Yeah. Okay, say you've got a private label, you've got this brand going, stick it out on Amazon.
Yeah.
Now what?
Exactly.
So now you've got marketing to do.
Yeah.
So now it's going to go into what you said. They're moving towards private label wholesale. So if you're really look long term Amazon, you better be learning the wholesale business. You better be learning because that's what private label really is.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now you're wholesaling your product.
Yep. Yeah. Because I can see it because as a brand owner, if they want to, if they call up, and Amazon's used to this now, I'm sure they're used to companies calling them up saying, you know what, we need you to watch this guy and this guy and this guy. They're selling our products. We don't know who they are. We have a warranty. It could be, a food item. It could be a health and beauty item. You don't know what it is. So that's what they're saying. And they don't want to Amazon doesn't want to get sued. And so that's kind of what's going on with that. But in terms of
where do you think? No, finish up. I'm sorry.
No, all I was going to say is that
what do you?
The end all be all for this, is that we have to, I guess, diversification, moving off just Amazon and eBay. But sorry, you go ahead.
And look at too. I think used products will always be something Amazon will let us have on.
Yeah.
The used off it may go back to seller fulfillment.
Yeah.
That you may want to say, well, I've got a good sized Amazon business, but it's seller fulfillment again.
Oh yeah, definitely, because actually that is happening in the sense that every year I want to say every 6 months the rates go up. Every 6 months to 12 months the rates do go up on storage on FBA. And there's tons of every couple months there's a new storage kind of prep and pack center that pops up. There's lots of them that are established now. A couple of years ago you couldn't say that. And when it gets to the point where it is more cost effective to use those, then that's going to be huge. You're going to see a lot more merchant fulfilled stuff. You're going to see a lot more of that because Amazon doesn't, as they always say, they're not in the business of warehousing. They're in the business of selling. They want to sell and they want to sell fast. They don't want to warehouse your, used VHS. They want to, sell your quickly, highly ranked items. So that is definitely happening already. Their warehouses are full, and I think, to be honest, in the U.S., I'm not sure if they're expanding that much warehouse-wise. So
I haven't kept up with that, so it'd be hard for me to say, oh yeah, I've heard they
definitely are overseas though. So they just they want stuff that moves fast. Their algorithm is always efficiency. That's it.
Right. Getting it. So, what do you think some of the ways somebody can pivot on eBay? Because eBay is more of the the one-offs, or not more, but what if a person's in one-off?
Well, if you're, eBay's the mix. eBay is still the place you can go to for your vintage stuff, even though, there's Etsy, there's other places too. So I think with eBay, it's one of two things. One, you can look to them as a place where you want to sell your multiples. If you buy, there's also all kinds of people buying, selling private label products, not only on Amazon, but on eBay too. All kinds of people that sell, like some of the biggest stores on eBay sell multiples of whatever it is, clothing and things like that. So, I think the thing with eBay is efficiency. How to be, and it's like right in 10K on the Bay's wheelhouse. Being as efficient as possible in terms of your process and in terms of how you're getting stuff and what stuff you're listing. We've all, and I'm guilty of this too, listing stuff that is just not good. So I think with eBay, their whole thing is fine tuning. They want you to be the best seller you can, selling the best stuff you can in the best way.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Have you used the multiple quantities much?
I've used it a couple of times. I haven't really, for eBay, I haven't sent in multiple. I have sent in a handful of times, maybe like 6 times.
Gotcha.
So I haven't used it that much. So my experience with that isn't that. To be honest, whenever I think of multiple quantities, I'm still thinking Amazon right now. I'm still
Right.
thinking FBA or merchant fulfilled. But
Right.
that exactly is something that people should be looking at. I mean, I forget who it was, but they bought like pallets of brand new clothing in multiples. So like 5 of this, 10 of that, and
I really like it. And even some of the one-offs, I found like 3 Nerf guns that were the same model.
yeah,
One listing, I took the worst one, and they were all good.
yeah,
They were
that's
all
the
good,
same
but
thing I do.
the one
Yeah,
I figured was right. You take the one that's not the best looking, and
yeah,
that's your picture.
yeah,
That way, whatever they get is better than the picture or like the picture. You
exactly.
wouldn't want to do it the opposite way. And it's been kind of nice. I think the most I've had was a quantity of like 5.
Yeah,
There were some telephone handsets,
yeah.
and that it was like bang, 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 and it was kind of nice. You didn't have to relist. You didn't have to. So it's a something to really look into and make sure that you can do, and
Oh
or
yeah.
make sure that you take advantage of it.
Oh yeah, and I think part of basically part of what you were saying there is, I think the idea of multi-listing is going to be not just on eBay, but like for example, Joe Lister, you can list your stuff on eBay and Amazon at the same time. Bonanza, you're listing on Bonanza and eBay at the same time. There's
Right.
I'm blanking on the name. I tested it out about a year ago. I think it's Starbright or Star. I
I
forget
think it was.
exactly.
You told me Star. I think it was like Star Bright. Something.
Yeah, I mean, and there's two. They're one of them. There's a couple other ones where people multi-list, and they've been doing this for years. These companies have been out for a long time. It used to be even before FBA. You had a warehouse, but you don't want to sell on it. You want to sell on Sears. You want to sell on, was it Rakuten, eBay, Amazon, all of these different places at the same time. And you needed fulfillment software. That's what this is. I think that's what you're going to see more. The pivot's going to be not.
Great point. Because wouldn't it be nice to have 10 of one item and be cross-platform
Yeah,
selling
exactly.
without it?
Cross selling. Because I mean, right now if we do it, we'll do it on 1 or 2 sites. Like I know I when I tested that software out, I did it and between eBay, Amazon, and Etsy, and I think they gave me like a 25 or maybe 50 item max, and I maxed it out, and it worked for 1 or 2 items, which was cool. I mean, obviously, the platforms have their differences, so you're not going to be able to do it for every item. For example, eBay and Etsy will let you sell used things. Etsy's generally, they want you to be 20-year-old items. eBay's more flexible with that. Amazon doesn't want any used clothing, for example. So there's going to be stuff that changes along the way. But I think the future is multi-listing, cross-listing, multiple sites. Being in one site is going to be very, 10 years ago.
Do you think there's some business opportunities in there, much like prep centers today, that
Absolutely.
somebody is, hey, send me your stuff.
Yep.
I'll cross list it, and it where there becomes smaller FBAs, so to speak.
I mean, there's 2 different things there. One, I mean, in terms of the software, when I used that software, it was actually not too hard to use. It wasn't too bad. It was a little bit clunky at times, and it was a slight learning curve. The issue I have is there is another software out there that I've heard. I forget what it is, but you have to be doing X amounts. That's why I didn't even really look into it. I mean, and by X amount, I mean I think it was like 100K. It was like
Right.
a lot. So the gap is going to get smaller. These smaller Starbrights and similar companies are going to get more and more popular. Their servers are going to get better. It's going to be easier to list. Once it becomes easy to list, that's the sky's going to be the limit. Because imagine you list on Etsy, Amazon, eBay, and you're listing that same item. And people are already doing this. They've been doing this for years. But imagine if everybody starts doing that. Imagine what that's going to do to the market.
Right. It's going to just explode to the point of, you can handle more inventory. Goes again, make sure you handle the processes correctly.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to get the, well, that's why it weeds out bad customer service.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
You don't ship a couple items correctly, or you don't, I canceled that order. You've lost your top rated seller on eBay that fast.
Well, it's funny. I mean, this is kind of how one of the first times I learned about what FBA was. I think in 2010, I worked for a company that did this. I'm not going to say the name of the company, but they're online still, I think. And this is what they did. They did, it was like accounting / inventory software. And these guys would literally be listing things on sites. I don't even know if they're still around now. But it wasn't Rakuten back then. It was like buy.com, I think. And then they like Sears, and they had like all these other companies like Newegg. And what would happen, like you said, the only time I would get a call, and I was in tech support, was when something went wrong. When there was an update to the USPS pricing, in January or something, and something went wrong, and then my labels don't print out or something like that, and then But it wasn't one person calling when that happened. It was like 50. So I mean, so it's something that's out there that's going to get more and more and more robust and more accessible to everyone. I think right now everyone's kind of like, I don't want. I mean, how many times have you said, I've listed on eBay, like I know everyone knows what Etsy is. You know what Bonanza is. Right. You know what Amazon is. You don't necessarily list on all of them yet. So I think that's the next stage.
Well, and let's take the Gary Vaynerchuk philosophy. When he asked which social media platform to use, he goes, all of them.
Exactly.
So, shouldn't we? Which reselling platform should we be using?
Yep.
All of them.
Yep. So I mean, and like, I think. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go finish it up, man.
No, I was going to say is that I don't know if I'm not a big Snapchat user. I've just recently got started with Instagram, but I'm wondering if from what I'm hearing is there's a decline in use of Snapchat, and there's an increase in use of Instagram. And from what I can see, it's extremely easy to use Instagram, and to save, to add people, to follow people, and it's slightly harder to add on Snapchat. Not that it's hard, but slightly harder. So I'm just wondering if that's the issue. That the fact that it's difficult, obviously it's difficult to list on 10 different sites. You want to list on one and be done. So I think that's part of it too. The difficulty, ease of use. Once the ease of use becomes easier, even with social media, you can see it. Facebook was better than MySpace. I mean, it was more what you needed, what you wanted, faster.
Ease of use. Well, I think we talked to one episode of like where we're going, and what we said was here, Siri, Alexis, whoever, at the time, I've got this ship in a bottle. List it for me. Okay, Russ. What color is the ship in a bottle? It's purple. And here, can you take a picture of it for me? Boom, and it's listed. So that's the true ease of listing that's going to happen one day. Everything's going down that path that we're going to be the AI. We're going to be talking to I wouldn't say that's true AI. It's more pseudo AI.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk to, Alexis and what Quintana, Cortez, they've got them all now, that are there that will help on that. So hopefully that comes real soon, because it does get tired listing.
It does. And that's the one thing. I mean, I heard these people that were at the eBay Open, and they were talking about, and most of the questions surrounded listing efficiency. And they were little things, but when you add them up, they're like, they take time. Like if you can shave 10 seconds off your listing time, that's huge. I mean, for some people, 10 seconds is a list. I mean,
well, take for example, Mo, what they added recently, the mobile-friendly checker.
Yeah.
So if you're on your computer and you do it and you hit that, and check to see if it's mobile-friendly.
Yeah.
Boom, you hit that. Is it mobile-friendly? Fix it for me. Hit that. Save it. there's 3 clicks right there.
Yeah.
That should be taken care of with everything is mobile friendly. It doesn't matter if why do we have to make sure it's mobile friendly?
Yeah. Yeah. And the funny thing, I mean, yeah, mobile friendly, I think I'm wondering if in a few years it's going to be the opposite. They're going to say, is it PC friendly?
Is it? And then they're going to go, it's going to come out and say, is this PC friendly? Well, yeah. You want to make it PC friendly? And they go, yeah. And then the next question would be, well, why do you want me to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, because everything's mobile.
Yeah. And then I think eventually, to be honest, mobile is the middle. Mobile I see as the middleman. Like you've got your big clunking, your PC or your laptop. Then you got your small device. The next thing is forget about a device of any kind. It's going to be your refrigerator, your car. It's going to be, you're talking to your, I don't know, your door handle about,
And I mean, that's IoT right there, Internet of Things.
Yeah.
Hey, refrigerator, order more milk.
Yep.
Yeah. And it will definitely go. And, it's going down that road.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to think about, what we could be doing, in terms of pivoting for reselling, I think the main thing is, like you said, with Gary Vee's main thing, just do everything right now and just keep your eyes open, because there's so many new things that I haven't even really touched on. I've never sold on Mercari, for example. I've never sold on Poshmark. You never know. One of those guys is going to be an innovator that's going to shake up the market. Because if you're talking about eBay and Amazon, they've been around for 22 years or whatever it is. Somebody else is going to come along. I mean, Instagram, how old are they? A couple of years. Snapchat, same thing. And now they're like ingrained in us. So, I mean, yeah, I'd love to see Etsy, step it up, or one of these other guys.
You're right. It's gonna come from the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their path is and eBay's path is eBay. Amazon's path is Amazon's.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to it comes from the outside on that aspect. And good point. Keep a watch out for it.
Yeah. No, actually, I think your point right there was really good. eBay and Amazon, I think we always harp on them. Oh, why they have very clear paths. We just maybe don't like to hear it a lot of times. With Amazon, they're going to do what they're going to do, and that's it. And they've always shown that. eBay is a little bit more friendly, actually, I would say, in a sense. But they just change less frequently, and the changes are slight. So I think it's easier to palate.
Easier. So if you're listening out here in podcast land, and you're a software developer and can make apps, make us an app that lists everything instantaneously on all platforms.
An app that does that. Wow. I mean, they don't even really have software that does that proper. I mean, they do, but it's, from what I've seen, it's hard, but yeah.
Yeah. And then we select, because now you've got, even I want to post it on Craigslist. I want to post it on Facebook.
Yeah.
So we can do local. And when it sells, I want you to take it all off the other apps or the other outside.
Yeah.
So it's coming. It's got to be coming. Well,
mean,
who would think 5 years ago, how long has the eBay app been around? 7, 8 years?
About the app? Yeah, something like that.
5, 6 years max. Who would think you'd be sitting there selling from your phone?
I know. A lot of people only use their phone too. I still can't, but I mean, yeah.
I've started this being on the road has kind of made it to where I've really stressed on trying to start listing phone only.
Okay.
And I've gotten more efficient with it, so to speak. So phone only. And so it's going that way. Everything's going to be going through the phone or whatever, like you said, whatever device is there.
Yeah, that's like Gary Vee style, phone only. He doesn't use a laptop or a computer, apparently.
Yeah. He's got a few bucks in his company, I think, doesn't he?
Just a couple.
Yeah, just a couple. So, but
Okay.
Well, I think we've, chased a few rabbits and went down some rabbit holes too with some of the things. But
Yeah, it was more of a brainstorm, I think, trying to figure out what we want to do. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, just keep your eyes open and just be open to change and kind of
what's our three words that we always use?
research equals knowledge equals profit.
Profit. And that bang goes right along. You want to know the future? Start researching it.
Yep.
And you'll gain the knowledge, and when it hits, you'll go, oh yeah, and your profits will be there.
Absolutely. Unless you have Jeff Bezos' phone number, in which case send it to me because I'd like to ask him a couple questions.
I'm just going to ask him, not even for a loan, just a handout. Hey, you got an extra? and if I'm asked for a handout, I'm asked for a good handout. Like, hey, Jeff, you wouldn't happen to have 20, 30 million sitting around in a suitcase you don't need, do you? So
he'll send it to you on a drone.
Yeah, drop it out of the sky. So, yeah.
Nice. Well, we really want to thank you for listening to us, or if you're watching us on YouTube or on podcast land, either way. If you want to check us out on our Facebook group, you can check us out at the Reseller Niche Facebook group. Check us out on Instagram. Russ is at The Rowing Pickers, and I'm at Niche Reseller on Instagram. And until the next one, we will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye.